a stationery company called Midori. And I've got like a small
I
collection
need
of
to
them.
get them for my boyfriend. He would love that. He loves cats.
Welcome to the People in Legal podcast. This is the Law and Beyond show, where we're speaking everything to do with the legal universe. That's law, technology, education and compliance, and academia. I'm your host, Chantal McNaught. I'm a PhD researcher researching how lawyers can navigate the conflicts between law as a profession and law as a business. I also author the fully automated luxury lawyer newsletter on LinkedIn. And today is a special episode because usually I have a guest that I interview on this show, but instead I have my friend Rhonda McGrath. Rhonda and I made fast friends back in the day when we were both working at a legal tech company. And Rhonda is in her last year of her law degree. And when she isn't studying, she is a doggy mum of two beautiful and wonderfully cute French bulldogs. Thank you for coming in onto this special edition of the show, Ronnie.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we turn the record on, we were just talking about how we were going to do it a bit different and ask each other questions and talk about all things legal universe, and then finish the show with our usual segment of our conversation cards where you'll get to ask me a conversation card question, which is a bit fun, so stick around for that. But yeah, how about we start with what got you into legal tech, on how we first met?
So in all honesty, I think I went into legal tech because I had no idea what I was doing with technology, if I'm brutally honest.
And yet here you are.
Here I am. I truly applied for the job thinking I probably won't even make probation, and I made probation, obviously. I'd say there for like 3.5.
How long were you there?
3.5 years.
Yeah, it was almost 4 years.
Yeah. And I remember walking to my first day going Control-Alt-Delete, Control-Alt-Delete, because I only ever used a Mac. And so, yeah, I had worked in firms before. We had very basic systems, and I guess I thought, look, at the end of the day, I won't make probation, but I will learn something and I will come away from it with some knowledge and and I actually, you know how they say kids, their brains are like sponges? Well, I felt like a child again, and I just absorbed so much. And so, that's what got me into legal tech, the fact that I had no idea what to do with technology. So that was a really big learning curve, particularly for my generation. Actually, what am I? Am I a millennial? No, Gen Z.
I think you might be on the cusp, or you. I don't think either of us would be considered Gen Z. We're not. I don't think we're young enough for that. But Zennial, maybe Zennial.
Can I do a quick Google search for that? Just a real quick one.
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, I want to share one of my favorite, or maybe not so much favorite memories, but the memory that sticks out for me when we were making friends with each other, and you were quite new there, is because you were on the client support team, assisting with the technical stuff. So like, way to go, you. Like, you didn't just absolutely nail it and pass probation, but you were there on the front lines helping legal teams with their technical solutions and all that jazz, while I was swanning around the country, just saying, hey, if you click on this button, you can repeat the same matter type, kind of thing. Yeah. So I definitely learnt a lot from you as well. And one of the things that really struck me from that time was when you were getting your head around trust account bookkeeping and the difference between an office account and a trust account. And particularly because you were getting questions that were like, how come my receipt isn't doing this, or how come I can't make a payment? And we were sitting there going like, really, the first step has to be like, what tab are you in? Like, what account? Are you in the trust account or the office account? Because the processes were slightly different. and just working that way through, and that helped me understand a little bit more about the sorts of problems that legal teams would have, because it's in a in a busy office environment
Mm.
where you just wanted to make it work, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm going to go on the tech support team and go make it work, but not knowing that there is all this contextual information
Mm.
that the person, you on the other side, needs to know. So instead of
Mm.
like trying to answer a question on the bare minimum sort of
Mm. It's tough.
information, you
Most
had
questions
to,
are answered. But you had
yeah,
to like investigate and delve into the issue with the client. Yeah. One thing I noticed is, and I one of the reasons I did a law degree was because math is not my strongest. Uh, you know.
and how is
Yeah.
that going for you?
Math, yeah, I can add up and subtract, and after that we're good. We're done. Oh, I can divide, but after that, I'm out, right?
Multiplication, just out of it, out there.
No, actually, I can do that. Okay, I'm talking if we're talking like anything like algebra, that's where you lose me. Like,
Right. So if it's,
I'm
A plus B equals C, if they're
yeah,
letters, they're not
yeah,
they're not
yeah,
computing.
yeah, not computing in my brain. So anyway, that's why one of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons why it made sense for me to do that. And I think and I think there's probably a lot of people out there that do law because they're not as mathematically inclined, or do you know what I mean? Like you might find
Yeah.
other things really interesting, but the love of God, you cannot actually get your head around the mathematical side of it, and that's totally okay. And so I think there's a lot of lawyers out there like that. When you do your PLT, I don't think there's like a lot of maybe emphasis or a lot of information about trust accounting. And also, I don't know because I haven't done the PLT yet, but this is what I'm gathering from it's just like a few conversations I've had. It's like sort of like one subject in PLT, and then you can lose your practicing license if you're like a couple of cents out, sort of thing. So I found trust accounting is so much easier than office accounting, but lawyers and their support staff are just so confused by the whole thing. And I think it's because they're reacting with lizard brain. They're so stressed, they're not actually sitting there and thinking through the problems. I guess that's why it was good from a support aspect, because you're not in lizard brain. Like you can, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I love the concept of lizard brain. So
Mm.
it comes from there's quite a few influencers and people out there that talk about this. But in sorry,
Yeah,
what was that?
Cara Lowenfield. She used to have the podcast for lawyers, but and then she turned it to. I'm not going to say the name of it on here because it's a little bit rude, but she was a Harvard lawyer, and I thought she coined the term lizard brain because that's when I first heard it like 10 years ago. I don't know
Ah.
if she did. Sorry.
Well, I'll be honest with you. The first time I heard of lizard brain was when I was seeing my psychologist. So I think it's a psychology thing, and says a lot about me. As I say to a lot of my friends, I've done my 10,000 hours of therapy. I'm just going to, dish out what I've learned. And yeah, so for those that are hearing for the first time, maybe they'll attribute lizard brain to you now, Ronnie. And for those that are hearing this for the first time, lizard brain is this physiological concept that when we are stressed, when we are in the 4Fs mode, which is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and yes, there is four of them, that you're in a panic state, you're in a heightened state of anxiety and consciousness, because the whole idea is survival. And unfortunately, in our modern era, there are lots of things, especially the email machine, that puts us into that panic station, that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. And what that actually does to our brains is that restricts all of the blood flow to what's called the prefrontal cortex, which is where all of the braining happens. Thinking of like lawyers in the legal space, that's where they would think about, how where they're going to put the money in the trust account and how they would issue the receipt. All of that requires that part of the brain, but then there's no blood to that part of the brain. The only part of the brain that's functional is the bit that's going, do I have to fight them? Do I have to run away? Am I just freezing and hoping that, the email doesn't see me? Or am I going to fawn at it and go like, oh yes, may it please the court. So that's where the term lizard brain comes from, because it is the oldest part of our brain.
With you saying that, it's made me realize that for like the last 5 years, I've been in lizard brain mode, and I think I've been in freeze. Battle of Gecko. But now that you say that, I think I'm starting. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday because I got just real quick talking about AI and stuff. I don't know if it was a bot or a person, but someone was impersonating my friend and asking me for money on Facebook. Oh, Chantal, it was fantastic. I was like, "You're an imposter, bastard custard." It was just so much fun to play with the person. And I realized in that moment, I'm coming back to life out of my freeze mode. What do you think? It really made me realize that.
That's super super interesting, and it's a good point to raise about AI and scams,
Mm.
because I had a guest earlier on in this show that oh, you know him, Jack Scott, who's senior prosecutor at the Queensland Police Service.
Jack, yeah.
Yeah,
He's not
and
that old. He's not old. He's younger than us. Oh, he's younger than me anyway. I'm a Gen Y.
you are a Gen Y, so you fact check that. There we are, folks. And do you feel comfortable sharing your year of birth or nah?
No, I can share. I'm a 1982 vintage. Good vintage. Yeah.
So, something that Jack mentioned from his side of things around AI being involved in or being used for crime and new crimes, and whether we're prepared for that and that sort of thing. But I think a different angle could be, and given that you're in study mode and all of that
Mm.
jazz, and I have spoken to some academics as well who are very much, they're at the forefront of how do they deal with legal assessments and assessing for the sorts of skills that employers are going to need in this, age of ChatGPT.
Mm.
So with all of that, those sorts of thoughts, do you have any kind of comments about your perspective on it all? Does it make any difference to you whether the person that was impersonating your friend was AI? Does it make any difference that you're now looking at tools like Google's Notebook LM to help you study,
Study.
or is it just another day, another tech?
So I went to a luncheon on the weekend. It wasn't a work related thing, but they were all from they were all lawyers except for me at the table, and the girl sitting next to me, believe it or not, was in my health law class. So I was like, oh hey, yeah, that's good. Talking about the assignment. Um, and anyway, one of the girls was like, "Oh, where did you work?" I said, "Oh, Leap Legal Software, blah 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 blah." And she goes, AI is like just not like good for law. Like it just doesn't work. Like I was using Chat GPT, blah 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 blah, and I went, yeah, Chat GPT is not going to work. So she goes, well, then what else is there? And that I was like, telling her, I said, she worked for the DPP, so obviously they're not going to be employing these like expensive AI driven technologies at this stage because it's so new and everything. But she was like, I tried using it and it didn't really work very well and it didn't pull up proper cases. And anyway, and then someone else was like, oh, it doesn't work. I know, I tried it. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's just really good for like that first draft of work. I actually went into spiel mode and I was like, it's really good for that first. I did. I was like, it's really good for that first draft of work. I said, even if you don't have access to these tools, you could still use like ChatGPT and pop in. I mean, don't obviously put any personal information in, but you could still pop a few things in. You can get a first draft of a letter or orders or something like that if you just pop in sort of what you need. But I said you just can't rely on it though 100%. Like you still need to go back and you need to read the work, because like ultimately, like would you submit something to the court that you haven't read? Like no, dumb.
Yeah.
So I think the ethics around it and using it, like I think it's good for the legal industry. It can really speed up work, but I think it's interesting to see how people are reacting to it because some people are like all on board and they would trust it with an inch of their
Mm,
life,
and that's
whereas
dangerous too,
that is
right?
dangerous. Yeah. Then there are people that are on the other end that are like, it doesn't work. It's never going to work.
And they don't
etc.
try it at
They
all,
don't
and then they
try it.
don't get any benefits.
Or they have a bad experience because they're not actually using technology that's designed for Australian law. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then and then I said to her, like, it's not a one-stop shop. You still need to do your job, but it will still make it just that little bit faster and easier. And if you're having a bit of a block, it can help with that. So there are many different ways that you can employ the technology into legal practice, but I just think it's important to remember it's not the be all and end all.
One of the things that I use, so I use a different Google AI product, which is Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
and it has gotten so much better. I think that the first iteration, which was called Bard, and then Google had to rename it because it got lots of
It got bad.
yeah, well, it was spelt bard, like as in like Shakespeare the great bard,
Oh.
and and it was the AI that was telling people to eat rocks and put glue on pizzas. That was why Google's like, oh, we better improve this. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
improved so much, and one of the features that I quite like, they're called gems, and so they're like little mini purposeful AIs that you can make. So, for example, I obviously am scheduling a lot of, these sorts of podcast interviews, and I have a usual spiel that I use when I'm introducing the concept of what we do and how we schedule these in and how to prepare for them and whatnot. And so instead of having to repeat that or copy and paste it over from my email, instead I have a little gem, and I've told that gem, here is, my basic email spiel. And then now I spin up my gem when I need to do a new one, and I just tell them a little bit about the person that I'm interviewing.
It's like a
And I say,
precedent.
it's like a precedent, but it
Yeah.
specifically designs some words that are more suitable for that person, that background, the angle of the
Mm.
interview that we're saying. And so it just makes it a little bit faster. It saves on a little bit of time. But I think the other thing to be really cognizant of, and what you were saying as well about is you still have to do your job,
Yeah.
is that whole, that Harvard research that has found that people are actually losing the ability to critically think, like they're getting GPT
Mm.
brain because the over reliance on using these AI tools to think for them. And so it's like being really intentional about what
Mm.
tools, when you're going to use them, and when you're going to be like, you know what, I think this is, I've got, as much as I love technology, like I literally have like digital ink, I use a
Yeah.
Remarkable, all
Yeah.
of that sort of thing. I have a massive collection of fountain pens,
Mhm.
and something that I've recently got obsessed with is these cat
Oh, that's cute.
cat themed stamps by, it's a Japanese a stationery company called Midori. And I've got like a small
I
collection
need
of
to
them.
get them for my boyfriend. He would love that. He loves cats. You need to send them.
Yeah, so so you get them in, if you're in Australia, I found this one, which is like a set of them from Dimmicks. So you can get them from various different places. I've gotten them
So,
from around the world. But my point I'm trying to say is AI is one aspect of like the whole thing
whole,
of
yeah,
life.
it's not the whole thing. It's just, yeah, you're right. One aspect. One
Yeah,
little.
but do you think like when you went into spiel mode, I saw you get really excited there, which was quite cute, and loved it. But do you think that like your experience, having seen firsthand how the technology works, where you are useful from
Well,
from that legal sense, do you have hope for the legal industry?
I do. And like, I think, like, obviously the legal industry has to evolve. Like, I think they're pretty slow to evolve. I think things are starting to pace up now, but it does have to evolve. Like, people are evolving. I do think it's going to change pricing structure, make justice more affordable for people. Um, so, and just like, I've always said justice is for the rich, it is not for the poor. That's why I want to go into legal aid and hassles in that sort of low bono area. So I'm going to be poor myself my whole life. But anyway, that's okay. It's about giving back, that's what means something to me. But I still think like even in those areas of law, they can be definitely jazzed up, jazzed up and high productivity, and more people can be reached, and it might actually help those lower socioeconomic groups that don't have that sort of access that the rich do and can just sort of like pay money and be like, let them do it at their own pace. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so I think it definitely has a place. Like it, even as a student, I'm using it. I'm using Notebook LM. I will say, I was I was tempted to get my textbooks as ebooks and then dump it into Notebook LM, but I thought I think I need to read the textbook myself, like with the old highlighter and my pencil and so I did get paper copies, which cost a fortune. But anyway, but then I will say I am using Notebook LM for like my course notes, and the additional readings that they're giving as URLs and everything too. So I'm just dumping that into there, and then it's doing like a little mini podcast, or it's doing like note taking and everything for you, and you can just sort of, Kath and Kim speed read that. So that's been really useful, and it will also like do a compare and contrast between different cases or articles and things like that. So I'm using it as a student. I'm not using it to write my stuff, because I think that's cheating. That's definitely cheating.
It's just for your comprehension and that
learning
process.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I see it as something that is a natural evolution of, the system cards where you do your flashcards of like you write a concept. And that's like literally that rote process of, what's that case called? And you kind of have to memorize like at least one party of the case name, and then some of the facts. So then you can go, and then what was derived from this, the stairdiasis of XYZ. One thing I will note about a lot of AI tools that use generative AI is being mindful and intentional about some of the limitations in uploading things, because have you heard of the it was this phenomenon that's been reported, and I was reminded of it last week when I went to an AI event, that was vegetative microscopy. Have you heard that?
No.
So there was this there was this online drama that occurred around, get your tea out, this online drama around AI limitations, because we think that as humanity, we think that the technology is so amazing. So of course we all love it when we hear about how the machine is actually prone to error. And
which reminds me of something I've got to tell you, because I was thinking about this. You keep going, but don't forget me to tell you about the thing I was thinking of earlier.
Okay, I'll try and remember to remind you about the thing you're about to tell me about.
It fits in with what you're about to say, I can tell.
Vegetative microscopy was a phenomenon that occurred when a whole bunch of academic articles were identified that were referring to vegetative microscopy. And it was traced back to the fact that some scientists along the way had uploaded an article that had a table that had vegetation and microscopy in a table, but the AI didn't read it as two separate data points. It read it across and read the labels of the columns as vegetation microscopy or vegetative microscopy. So then when other scientists were using AI, and it was coming out, and it was this term that is purely created as a consequence of a limitation. So that's where the intentionality comes into it, of when you're uploading something, and where I think your process is really well described and well prescribed in this kind of era, where the only person that you can trust about your brain will be yourself. And
that's the thing though. So I was talking to someone from one of these AI legal AI developers, and they were saying it's actually interesting because AI's been programmed, most AI tools are programmed to think that the human is smarter than the AI, but people think that the AI is smarter than them. So it's really I think this, I was saying this on Saturday, despite using AI, you still need to have excellent knowledge of the law and what you're doing to use those AI tools and to help improve them. Or if you don't want to help improve them, that's fine. You can say no. That's give them a thumbs up to a wrong answer, you know. But it's interesting how, as people, over so much time that computers have been out, we're programmed. I think we're innately programmed to think that that computer will always be more correct than us, but it's actually the other way around. So that's something that you have to get your head around as well, because you don't want to land yourself in hot water because you trusted something that you shouldn't have, and you didn't trust yourself. Because then imagine how bad you would feel if you got busted custard.
Yeah. And not just for the personal shame, but even the people that you failed
The
along the way.
professional shame, yeah.
Yeah. Was that the thing that you wanted me to remind you about?
Yes.
Sweet.
How wild.
We got there. Yeah, and like there's so much into this, and I've got a few others that I'm going to be interviewing around that. But I'm mindful of our time. You know, we do 30-minute episodes, and it's. Can you believe?
30 minutes?
Yeah.
It feels like 2 minutes.
Right. I hope that's what our listeners feel like as well. So, as promised, though, last segment we've got our little
Conversation cards.
Conversation cards. Yeah, we can finish each other's sandwiches. I love this. And so I'm going to shuffle these, and then I'm going to pick 5, and then Rhonda, you're going to choose a number between 1 and 5, and then I'm going to pick that card. So then it's because you know we're not even in the same country at the moment. So I'm shuffling, showing these, getting slowly better at shuffling as I'm doing this segment, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep. Number 3.
Number 3. So this is the third one, and it is: what is one of your fears? Rational or irrational? Oh, all right.
Am I answering this?
No, this is for me.
Yep.
And then I will pull one out for you. All right. So, listeners, viewers, this is an irrational fear that I have. I am terrified of moths. And I can trace my fear to, like, seriously, like I see a moth, I will run for the hills.
I don't like their dust. I get it.
If the moth is flying, and my husband knows this as well, if the moth flies, I will scream.
I remember this in the office.
Yeah, I will. I do not. I go into fight, flight, freeze, fawn, but I think I don't know why there isn't a scream option. Does that count as fight or freeze? I don't know. I run away. Actually, no, it's flight. I do run away. So I can trace my irrational fear to when I was 5. My dad and I did this little experiment. He really loves doing little science experiments when I was a child, and we collected these cocoons of the moths that would as caterpillars, they would create their cocoons on this vine of where the passion fruit in our backyard would grow. And it was this really cool, it was meant to be this really cutesy kind of, experiment thing. I was only 5, and my dad was trying to explain like life cycles to me. And then after a week, we put these little cocoons in a shoebox, and after a week he's like, here's the shoebox of the cocoons. They're going to have transformed into the moths. Do you want to see it? And I'm like, yeah. And of course, being 5, I grab the box and I rip it open facing me, and all the moths flew at my face.
I get that. That would definitely,
I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
So now everybody knows about my irrational fear. Please do not come at me dressed as a moth or send me moth images. Please don't. So, Ronnie, your turn. And thank you for being incredibly supportive as well over my
I have got an irrational fear of snakes, and I can trace mine back too. And when I figured out where it came from, I thought maybe I can get over this. I can't. They're hideous. They're hideous creatures. I don't wish any harm on them. I just want them to stay away from me. I can't do pictures.
I think snakes is a little bit more on the rational side because they are quite, being venomous, they are threatening.
Yeah.
I don't have a fear of snakes. I had a pet snake growing up. This is
Oh, no.
So
I can't even look at photos.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
It's irrational.
Noted.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we had this moment. Okay, so I've got your question here, Ronnie.
Oh.
If you had the attention of the whole world for just 20 seconds, what do you want to say?
Oh my God. It just takes me back to that time that, I can't remember his name right now. He's fantastic. And he was asked by an interviewer, like, what would he say to God? And he was like, God, why? Why this? Like, I would say that because he said that was really, really good and it was really insightful. But if I had 20 seconds, okay, got 20 seconds. Honestly, just live your best life. Life is so short. We're here for such a short time. You've got to make the most of it. You really do.
Oh,
Get a Frenchie. Get a Frenchie.
that's so beautiful. I love how you wouldn't use it for yourself, like give me $1 million or anything like that. You're like you would literally use it to make the world a better place. Well, this is why we're friends, Ronnie.
Oh, but it's true. Like you could, have your liberty taken away from you like that. You could, get hit by a bus. Like who knows what can happen in life? And I just think, you just have to, live each day meaningfully. Is that? I can't do that. If I can say it, I can't get the words out. But yeah, you got to live it in a meaningful way to yourself and have a good time.
Love it. And with that, listeners, I hope you're having a good time
Today,
and we shall see you in the next episode.